Hello and welcome to this week's Q&A with Elizabeth Foundation for the Arts Studio member artist. This week, we are pleased to feature Akira Ikezoe, who has been an EFA member artist since 2016. Welcome, Akira.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Akira has a very, I think, interesting story as a young man who studied art in Japan at Tama University. Akira then, as a very young artist, had solo and group shows in New York City. And then I believe it was after those that you wound up moving to New York. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about what it was like as a young artist in Japan and how you got to New York City.
Yes. I moved to New York from Tokyo in 2010. But before moving to New York, I was already working with a gallery in New York. And I participated in several group shows and two solo shows there. And yeah, for those opportunities, I was sending my paintings to New York, but I finally came to New York for the first time for one of the solo show, and I was surprised by the difference between the art scene in New York and one in Japan, and yeah, I immediately felt like I have to move to New York, and I actually did in 2010. And in 2011 or 12, I came to EFA for the open studio, and I felt like, oh, I wish I could have a studio in this building. And I applied for the program in 2015, and I got accepted in 2016. Since then, I've been here.
We're thrilled that you applied and were accepted, and how amazing that the first time you applied, you were accepted. So congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
And since you've landed at EFA, let's call it, and I know that you add so much to the community and vibrancy at EFA. I feel like a very significant body of work has been conceived and executed by you, called cooperative, what this coconut heads is about.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen to talk about coconut heads. Can you see the painting? Oh yeah, great. So yeah, before talking about what's going on here, you know, because many people have asked me why they have coconut on their heads, let me explain that. And I heard, you know, my wife speaks Spanish, and she told me that in Spanish, people just say coconut or coco to refer to someone's head. And I thought it's cute. And I imagined like happy-go-lucky type of person's head instead of, you know, very serious person's head. So yeah, I liked it, and I just put coconut on their head. And before Coconut Head series, I was already painting, you know, this type of human figures, but with regular person's head, regular, faces. And just I painted, eyes and nose and mouth. But it looked all like me, or Asian guy's face. And I didn't like it. And with coconut on their heads, it could be more generic. And that's why I kept doing this. Yeah, that's the reason of why. And
Well, these coconut heads seem to be very busy in your image.
oh, they are working. They are very busy. And yeah, so it's what I'm doing here is to create like story, but there's no starting point or ending point. So let me start from the mask on the top. So these guys are pouring water in the mask's mouth, and the water is coming out from the eyes, and these guys are fishing from the fishing from the water, and these guys are carrying fish and pouring fish into the snail, and they are stretching the snail and put it on the fire, and sand came out from the snail shell. And the sand is actually used in this Japanese garden. And what they are doing in the Japanese garden is to grow mountain or rock. And actually the rocks are growing from the back to the front. And these guys are harvesting the rock. And these guys are carrying the rock and sending the rock to the top of the canvas. And these guys are cutting off the top of the mountain. And the mountain is used as a mouth of the mask. And here, these two people are putting the top of the mountain on the alligator. And alligator is jumping into the water and coming out from this water. I'm gonna make it bigger here.
That's wonderful.
So the alligator is biting the lumber, and they are using the zigzag lumber as a rake to create a pattern on the Japanese garden. And here, this person and this dog is connected with the leash and walking, making circle and leaving the footprints. And here there are dog footprints, and here human footprints here. And these footprints are gradually changing from the human to dog and dog to human. And they are standing between dog and human. That's why this person is peeing on the street. And this dog is peeing, but his pee is still useful. And this guy is collecting the dog pee and using it as a fertilizer to grow this plant. Maybe it's how do you call it? Gourd. And they are harvesting, and this guy is sending the gourds to the other side of the canvas. and the water is coming out from the gourd. Gourd used to be used to carry water, you know. So yeah, something like that is happening. And I think
Interesting, the way humans are embedded here into very natural processes without a sense of anthropomorphic ego or
right.
they're contributing and every much part of the process as every other. I think that's beautiful.
Thank you. That's, yeah. Everyone is working as a part of the story. So, that's why, you know, there's nobody just hanging out, There's no useless people in this painting. Well, um, yeah, when I started this series in 2015, I think, the motivation I had was to create a story, like stories that we can understand without reading the context behind it. Because as I said, I moved to New York in 2010, and back then I couldn't speak any English, and I couldn't even order pizza. So yeah, and
You have to be able to order pizza in New York. That is suffering.
yeah, but I can point out like this one. Well, I couldn't even, speak in English. When I go to museums or galleries, it was very hard for me to understand the context behind the artworks, which is almost essential to understand, to really understand what's going on in the artwork. So yeah, I was struggling a lot, but at the same time, I felt like maybe if I can, maybe I can paint something that we can enjoy without knowing the context. That's how I started this series. And back then, I was interested in like ancient mural paintings on like the European churches, like, to speak what's written in the Bible. Or I was also interested in like silent movies, like Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin. Many audiences of those movies were immigrants from Europe who don't really speak English. So I was kind of interested in history of art for illiterate people. And yeah, I thought it could be nice to expand or extend that art history with my experience. That was the beginning of the painting series. And I made many paintings, coconut head series. And I, slowly my interest or motivation has been changing. And right now I'm interested in more like how to associate different visual characteristics, how to make association between similar visual characteristics, like, shapes, colors, textures, functions. And I think what I'm doing here is similar to ancient people's way of perceiving this universe or understanding this universe. Like, if 300 years ago, people find a huge rock that shapes like penis or like a genital organ, they probably worship it as a symbol of reproduction. Or if a person runs faster than the others, they think this person could be an avatar of the fastest animal in the area. But there's no connection, scientific connection between the rock and reproduction, or the person and the animal here. But what I'm interested in is that I think people are still seeing this universe in the similar way. So yeah, I'm just talking about what I'm thinking while I'm painting.
I love it.
Yeah, that's...
There are forms, there are substances, there are forms, there are processes, and our interpretation of them may have nothing to do how they connect in the physical realm in which we operate, and yet we connect them either through how we perceive them or their function, or in so many different ways.
Uh-huh.
And in one painting, you're picking up multiple ways we connect them in one, but also how they influence each other.
Influence each other.
Well, we have the tears that then, if we start at the upper left, we have the tears, which then go through the whole cycle and wind up as the top of the mountain on part of the mask with tears again. And so from that standpoint, I see influences within a story.
Actually, many ideas came from my drawings. I draw every day, almost every day. And the process is like, I draw something on the paper, and next day I put next page on yesterday's drawing, and I start drawing by following yesterday's line. And by doing this process over and over again, this one sketchbook creates, it's not gonna be a story, but a movement. And that's the starting point of every painting from Coconut Head series. And then I liked, some movements in the sketchbooks, and I assembled them somehow into one painting. So to answer your question, yeah, I think it's a coincidence of, many elements meeting in one painting.
Coincidence, that's a fascinating way to think of this.
Yeah.
And how many works have you finished for Coconut Head series?
I've never counted before, but probably 30 or 40 paintings from this series, including small ones. And
that includes the museum Coconut Heads and the Coconut Heads, or just one of them?
Oh, museum Coconut Heads, including museum Coconut Heads. I'm going to show you museum Coconut Heads.
Yeah, I love this one.
Including museum one, I think I have made 50 or 60. So this is sorry, it's slow. So this is kind of spin-off from Coconut Heads series. It's called Coconut Heads in Museum series. And what I did here is to create stories, create a linear story with a group of artworks that I selected, that I took out from MoMA's permanent collection. So it starts from Grace Oldenburg and Linda Bengris, Liechtenstein. This guy is William Kentridge, Eve Klein, Louis Bourgeois, I forgot his name, Christopher Wu, or something like that. You know, I connected, those artworks to create a line of story. So, this way, because I was struggling against English and I couldn't understand the context behind the artworks, it's a kind of, making fun of artworks, very serious artworks from the museum. But yeah, what I like about this painting is that, even though they are historically important and valuable artworks, in my painting, they are just a, element to continue the story. So, we don't have to understand anything about the background of those artworks. Just, as an visual information, it's already funny or working in my painting.
This may become all the rage, and we might have millions of people around the world creating their own coconut heads.
Yeah. Yes.
Although I doubt they would be as interesting or engaging or fun as yours. Could we see maybe a close-up sections of this Coconut Heads painting?
So maybe, yeah. Oh, this guy is holding a bag, like a sandbag.
Yeah.
From Robert Rauschenberg, and this eagle is also from Robert Rauschenberg, and Juan Miro, fish from Juan Miro's painting, Paul Gray, Matisse, Yayoi Kusama, Van Gogh, it's a Formula One car, and Bruce Nauman's performance, Frank Stella, Andy Rousseau, Christo, Namjoon Paik. I forgot this. I used to remember all the artworks, but yeah. Mika Rothenberg.
I love it.
I'm going to show all the story without talking about it. Okay.
Lovely. And for viewers who want to see more works within these series, where would they find them? On your website, I would assume?
Yeah, on my website. And
AkiraIkezoe.com.
Right.
And then also, I think viewers can go to the Elizabeth Foundation for the Arts site, efamyc.org, go into the studio program, which is one of 3 programs at the Elizabeth Foundation, search on member artists, and I think they would be able to link to your website that way.
Yeah.
Thank you, Akira. I do love your work. I was thrilled when you agreed to an interview about your career. I would encourage our viewers to follow your work, go to your website, also to support the Elizabeth Foundation for the Arts, which is easy to do by going to efamyc.org, and there are different ways to support the foundation. I'm so glad also that you're back in your studio, that we're able to get back to work after a few months where we've been at home and going through a very unusual time.
Yeah.
And continuing wishes for your best success, Akira, as you move forward with this series and in your future work.
Thank you. It was great.
Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
And while we won't have an open studios this year in the usual format, I do look forward to seeing you somehow in the near future.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
Bye.